Hello friends, welcome back to my After Effects tutorial channel. This is Randy from Rhandz Graphix. So without wasting our time, let's go jump into After Effects. But before that, I'm gonna be showing you what we're gonna be making today, okay? So now guys, we are now here inside After Effects. All I have to do is to create a new composition and I will name it background or BG. 1920 by 1080p, 30 frames per second, and I will change this duration to only 6 seconds. Click OK. I will open these textures and I will drop down this grunge into the timeline. Press S on your keyboard for the scale and I want this scale to 120. Just to fit our canvas. Then go and highlight this layer, go to effects and preset, color correction, curves. Make your curves like this, just to darken it a bit, like that. Go to project panel, open it up and drop down this crackle image into the timeline. Press S on your keyboard to scale it up. Highlight it again, go to effects and preset, go to stylize, CC glass. Open the surface, softness is 0 and height is 0. And open shading, change the ambient light to 200, diffuse is 100. Then toggle switches mode in here, change the blending mode to multiply. Highlight it, press your keyboard Ctrl D to duplicate it. Go to layer and go to transform, flip horizontal. Press R on your keyboard for the rotation. I will just change the rotation here value to 128. I will move it a bit on the right side. I think that one is good enough. Go to composition, create a new composition. I will name it rock texture. 1920 by 1080p, 30 frames per second and 6 seconds duration. Click OK. Open project panel, drop down this grunge into the timeline. Press S on your keyboard for the scale. Scale it to 120. Go to composition, create a new composition. Name it title logo. (1920 by 1080p, 30 frames per second and 6 seconds duration. Click OK. And then open this RG logo, drop this image down into the timeline. Press S on your keyboard to scale. I just want this 30%. Press P on your keyboard for the position. Drag it up a bit like that. Now go to your text tool and type cinematic. All capital. I just align it horizontally. I will change the font size here to 150. Height of the letter is 144. Make sure that this layer is not highlighted. Go to your text tool and type film. Here I'm using Arial font, bold. And I will change the space in between letters to 200. Align it horizontally. Drag it up a bit. I think that one is good. Highlight it and align it horizontally. Go to composition, create a new composition. I will name it Bevel. 1920 by 1080p, 30 frames per second and 6 seconds duration. Click OK. Drop down this title logo into the timeline. Go to layer, layer styles, add inner glow. Open inner glow, change this blend mode to normal. Change the technique to precise. I want the size here to be 30. And change this color to black. Then go to layer, create an adjustment layer. Go to effects and preset, go to channel, add solid composite. Then go back to effects and preset, change this color to black. Go to effects and preset, go to blur and sharpen, add fastbox blur. And I will change the iterations here to 1. Blur edges, I want it 1. Then I will go to layer, create a new solid. I want it named rock fractal. Make it comp size, click OK. Then go to effects and preset, go to noise and grain, add fractal noise. I want to change the fractal type here to max. I'll change the contrast here to 85. The brightness, I will change this to -22. Check this invert, and then the evolution, I will change this to 205. Highlight this title logo, press my keyboard Ctrl D to duplicate it. Drag this up above the fractal. Go to effects and preset, go to channel invert. Then go to effects and preset, go to blur and sharpen, fastbox blur. Change the blur radius here to 12. Go to layer again and create a new solid, and I want it named dense. Make comp size, click OK. Then I will go to effects and preset, go to noise and grain, fractal noise. The fractal type is basic, soft linear, and I'll just change the contrast here to 72. And the brightness, I will change this to 58. Then go to effects and preset, go to blur and sharpen, unsharp mask. And then the amount is 50 and the radius is 1. Highlight this dense and press on my keyboard T for the opacity. I will change the opacity here to 70%. Then I will change the blending mode here to multiply. Then this fractal, I will change this blending mode to add. I will also highlight this title logo, press T on my keyboard for opacity, and I will change the opacity here to 27. Go to composition, create a new composition, and I will name it emerging rust. This is where we will create our emerging rust, okay? 1920 by 1080p, 30 frames per second, and 6 seconds duration. Click OK. Go to layer, create a new solid, and I will name it noise. Make it comp size, click OK. Go to effects and preset, go to noise and grain, add fractal noise. The fractal type is basic. Create keyframes by hitting the stopwatch on the brightness and contrast. Make sure that your play is at the beginning of your timeline. Make this contrast 0. Move your play to about 5 seconds duration. Change the contrast here to 1000. And the brightness, change this to -30. Then I will open the project panel. I will drop down this title logo into the timeline. Go to effects and preset, channel, add invert. Channel here change to alpha. Then go to effects and preset, add blur and sharpen, fastbox blur. I will change the amount of blur radius here to 5. Then I will go to effects and preset, go to color correction, add tint. I want both of them dark. Then I will go to effects and preset, go back to color correction, and I will add curves. I will change the RGB here to alpha. Make your alpha like this. Then go to effects and preset, add distort turbulence displays. Change the size here to 3.1. Then go to layer, create a new solid, and I will name it bump. Make it comp size, click OK. Then I will go to effects and preset, noise and grain again. I will add fractal noise. I don't have to change any settings in here. All I have to do is to highlight this layer and press T on my keyboard for the opacity, and I will change the opacity here to 5%. Then I will change the blending mode here to darken. Then go to composition, create a new composition. I will name it title animation. (1920 by 1080p, 30 frames per second, and 6 seconds duration). Click OK. Then I will open my project panel. I will drop down this title logo into the timeline. Go back to the project panel and drop down this emerging rust into the timeline and also the bevel. Disable the visibility of these two. I'll just go back to the project panel and right click my mouse on this title logo composition to rename it. I will just add one on it. Then I will highlight this title logo, Ctrl D on my keyboard to duplicate it. Move it above the bevel, right click my mouse and rename it title logo shadow. Then I will highlight it again and go to effects and preset color correction, add tint all black. Go to effects and preset, I will add CC radial blur. Then I will change the type here to fading zoom. The amount, I will change this to 11. I will change this setting on the X center to 3440. Then on the Y center, I will change this to negative 3660. When we enable the transparency, you can see Control D on my keyboard to duplicate the title logo shadow. Again, I will press my keyboard Control D to duplicate it. Then I will change the CC radial blur amount to 1. I will open the project panel and drop down this rock texture 1 into the timeline. I will right click my mouse and rename this title rock texture 1. I will highlight it and go to effects and preset, go to color correction, curves. Then drag this corner to this side and also this bottom corner, drag it up a bit. Then make a contrast by doing this curve like this. Now go to effects and preset, go to stylize, I will add CC glass. Open the surface, change this bump up to bevel. Make the softness 0 and the displacement 0. Open the light and change the effect light to AE lights. Then open the shading and change the ambient to 70.9. The diffuse, change this to 35.9. The specular, change this to 23. Then the roughness, change this to 0.301. Go to effects and preset and add channel, set matte. Change the matte from layer to title logo 1. As you can see, all we have to do is to disable this transparency. Then I will highlight this title rock texture 1. Press Ctrl D on my keyboard to duplicate it. Then I will drag this title rock texture 2 just below the title rock texture 1. I will delete these curves. And I will add blur and sharpen, CC radial blur. I will change this to fading zoom. I will open this shading and change the ambient to 50. Diffuse is 50, specular is 50. Then the roughness, I will change this to 0.025. I will right away go to CC radial blur and change the amount here to -8. Go to effects and preset color correction, add curves, and I will drag this RGB down, make the graph like this. I will open project panel and drop down this rock texture 1 into the timeline. Go to layer, I will add layer styles, inner shadow. Open inner shadow, change the angle direction here to 98.4 degrees. Then change the opacity to 100% and close it. Highlight it again, effects and preset, stylize, add CC glass. Open the surface, change the bump up here to emerging rust. Softness is 0, displacement is 0. Open light, change the effect light to AE lights. Go to effects and preset and add that matte. Change the matte from layer to the title 1. Then duplicate it by pressing your keyboard Ctrl D. Change the take matte from layer to the emerging rust. Change the use format to luminance. Go to effects and preset and add color correction, curves. Then change the RGB here to alpha. Drag down the alpha like this. Duplicate the curves by pressing Ctrl D on my keyboard and reset it. Drag the RGB down like this and change the RGB to red. Drag it up. Change the red to blue. Make the graph like this. Then I will highlight this rock texture 1. Press my keyboard Ctrl D to duplicate it. I will right click my mouse and rename it rock texture 2. Then I will drag this rock texture 2 just below the rock texture 1. I will delete these curves. Then I will go to effects and preset. I will add drop shadow. I will change the direction here to 188.8 degrees, and the distance I will change this to 2, and the softness I will change this to 1. Now go to layer and create a new light and choose this parallel light. Change the color to white, and the intensity change this to 283. Click OK. Drag it up just above the rock texture 1. Press P on your keyboard for the position, and I will change the X position here to 1649. The Y position I will change this to -35. Then the Z position I will change this to -134.7. Then go to layer and create a new light. I will choose ambient light. Then I will change the intensity here to 50%. Then click OK. Go back again to layer and create a new light. Choose the point light. Change the color here to this code CF8938 and click OK. Then press P on your keyboard for position. Change the X position here to 203. Then the Y position I will change this to 277. The Z position -133.4. So it's looking good, eh? So now I'm gonna go and create a new composition, and I will name it scene 1. 1920 by 1080p, 30 frames per second, and 6 seconds duration. Click OK. I will go to my project panel and drop down this title animation into the timeline. Then I will also drop down this BG into the timeline. As you can see, go to layer, create a new solid, make it comp size, and I will name it vignette. Then I will go to shape tool and change this to ellipse tool. Double click my mouse to create a mask and open mask 1. Change the add here to subtract. Increase your mask feather like this. Okay. Then open the project assets, go to footage, drop down this spark footage into the timeline. Right click your mouse and pre-compose it. I will name it sparks. Move all the attributes into the new composition, click OK. Then I will change the blending mode here to add. Go back again to your project panel and open these textures. I will drop this grain into the timeline. Right click my mouse, pre-compose it. I will name it grain. Move all the attributes into the new composition, click OK. Change the blending mode here to screen. I will toggle switches mode in here, and I want this grain to be a 3D layer. Drop this glare image down into the timeline. Right click my mouse, pre-compose it. I will name it glare. Move all the attributes into the new composition, click OK. And I want this glare to be a 3D layer. Then toggle switches mode in here and change the blending mode to screen. Go back again to your project panel and drop down this dirt dust image into the timeline. Press this on your keyboard for the scale. I will just scale it down. Then I will right click my mouse and pre-compose it. I will name it dirt dust. Move all the attributes into the new composition, click OK. I will change the blending mode here to screen. Press T on my keyboard for the opacity, and I will change the opacity here to 12%. I will also highlight this glare composition. Press T on my keyboard for the opacity. I will change the opacity here to 30%. Go back again to the footage. Drop this fire down into the timeline. Then right click your mouse, go to time, enable time remapping. I will extend this layer up to the end of my timeline and also this keyframe. Right click my mouse and pre-compose it. I will name it fire. Move all the attributes into the new composition, click OK. Change the blending mode here to add. Then again go to the project panel and drop down this light rays into the timeline. Then right click your mouse and pre-compose it. Name it light rays. Move all the attributes into the new composition, click OK. highlight this light trace. Press T on my keyboard for the opacity. I will change the opacity to 50%. Change the blending mode here to add. Open your project assets again, expand this folder SFX, highlight both of these sound effects and drop it down into the timeline. Then make sure that your playhead is at the beginning of the timeline. Move forward your playhead to about 15 frames. Highlight this rust emerge. Press open bracket key to move that layer. Then go to layer and create a new camera. I wanted a custom camera. Click OK. Drag it on top. Then go back to layer, create a new null object. Toggle switches mode in here. I want this null object to be a 3D layer. Parent the camera to the null object. Press P on my keyboard for the position. Create a keyframe by hitting this stopwatch on the position. Move back my playhead to the beginning of the timeline. Change the Z position to 1952. Make this title animation a 3D layer. I will enable the motion blur. So let's try to preview it. I will also press Shift R for the rotation. Move back my playhead to the beginning of my timeline. Then I will change the Z rotation here to 22. Then create a keyframe by hitting the stopwatch on the Z rotation and move forward my playhead to about 15 frames and change the rotation to 0. First, I will disable these sound effects and let's preview it. So this is what we got. So now guys, we are done with our tutorial, and if you think that this tutorial helps you, press the like button. Don't forget to comment, subscribe, and share it to your friends. And my thoughts for today guys is that success is a continuous effort. Failure is not the end. What matters most is to continue striving for good, okay? So thank you guys for watching and see you next time on my next video. God bless.